Rise, minions, and welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here. We are back for another one of our Patreon one-shots. This time we are playing Alien RPG. I am running a module called The Perfect Organism, written by a Steve Hatherley. Out of the UK. Go check it out at stevehatherley.uk/alien perfect organism. It's a pretty cool convention style one shot here with our returning players from our Patreon one shot group. If you guys like what we do here and you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is just like these fine folks over on our Patreon. A link in the description down below. While you're down there, clicking on that link and joining us on the Patreon, click on the other link for our Discord. Join us over there. Be a part of the community. Be a part of the conversation. And as always, in the bottom right-hand corner is the corruption bar. That bar serves two purposes. One is when that bar fills, I don't know, I'd probably have an alien kill someone. And two, every single dollar that goes into that bar goes back to this channel for all kinds of things, like new art books and new games and a mortgage. Just the fun, simple things about tabletop games. And with that, let's jump in to some alien shenanigans. God damn it, Chris. Perfect Organism takes place less than a year after Aliens. The events of Aliens 3 have just taken place, but are only known by the Weyland-Yutani group. The United States Colonial Marine Corps is conducting an investigation into the Sulaco, which went missing after its mission to LV-426, documented in the movie Aliens. Following the destruction of the atmosphere processor and the loss of the colony, Weyland-Yutani set up Kathar station in orbit around LV-426. The station's mission is to ostensibly monitor the radiation cloud and search for survivors. But if we know Weyland-Yutani, we know that that's not true. Monitor the
monitor.
Yes,
the radiation.
Of course. It is the year 2180. It is 10 months since the events on LV-426 that resulted in the atmosphere processor exploding and the loss of Hadley's Hope. Shortly after, the Sulaco went missing. The USCMC, the ICC, and Weyland-Yutani are all conducting investigations. Someone, somewhere, knows what's going on. 6 weeks after the loss of Hadley's Hope, Weyland-Yutani installed Kathar Station in orbit around LV-426. Kathar Station's mission is to monitor the radiation cloud created by the destruction of the atmosphere processor and to monitor for survivors. Kathar Station is a 6-person monitoring station with a flatbed lifter for planetfall and 2 tethered cargo modules that contains additional food and supplies for their crew. Now, Major Julie Asagi and ICC lawyer Donald Green are en route on board the Coyote to Kathar Station, where our chief scientist Kadalt works there doing science and monitoring the radiation cloud. As any good Weyland-Yutani employee should be doing. So we start as we see the Coyote begin to pull in towards the station. We see the docking umbilical sort of extend towards the ship and clamp into place with these massive magnetic clamps. And then we hear the as the ship depressure or the umbilical depressurizes, and the crew aboard the Coyote. There are several members of the crew, including its captain and the major's aide, etc. You are all able to board the station if you so choose. But before we do that, we'll start with Major Julie Asagi. Describe your character and what they look like.
Yeah, we see a smartly dressed military personnel here in Major Julie Asagi. She is newly appointed, promoted to her new rank. And we see her standing in her pressed uniform, her shiny new major insignia on her breast. And she is standing there in the airlock, waiting to disembark and to step onto the station. And we see her the camera from over her shoulder. She's holding in her arm several dossiers, and she looks down and she's kind of flipping through what she has in her hand here, and we see a report from the Nostromo report. We see a Hadley's Hope report, and in the Hadley's Hope report, we see a small mock-up of all the missing Marine crew of the Sulaco, and we see all the names that we're familiar with from the Aliens movie. And she glances at all their names, and she closes the dossier, and she just kind of straightens her shoulders and she waits until we get the green light to go. And she is mid 30s, probably a little young to be a major, but she excelled in what she does, which is investigation within the Marine Corps. And she has her hair tied up in a smart little bun, and she has a couple of wavy hairs coming down. And yeah, that's Major Julie Asagi.
Okay. Accompanying Major Asagi is U.S. Colonial Marine Sergeant Mitchell. Sergeant Mitchell is everything you think of when you think of a Colonial Marine. He is jacked out of his mind. He's looking like he got the Colonial Marine uniform at the Baby Gap. And you can see his service pistol is like in a cross chest holster, so it's like at chest level, ready to go. And you can see that he does have a service combat knife as well in his boot of this. And he is ready to rock and roll. He is Major Julie's aide. From him, we go over to ICC lawyer Donald Green.
We see Donald about 3 steps behind the major and the guy who's definitely not taking drugs, and he's making sure that they are between him and anything else, because lawyers are there to do lawyery things. He looks like a typical lawyer. He's dressed really, really smart in a suit, pair of glasses, average height, not jacked, because you don't need to be jacked to be a lawyer. And yeah, he's very, very smartly dressed. Like I say, suit, tie, ready to go.
Okay. And as a reminder, the ICC is the Interstellar Commerce Commission. They are essentially in charge of on-world and off-world trading, like goods and commerce, and that's basically what monitors what's going on from a legal pseudo-governmental standpoint.
The money standpoint.
Yeah, from a money standpoint, for sure, in the world here. On board the Coyote, not getting off, their ship, they're staying on it, is Cartwright. He is one of the, he's a navigator. Spears, he's a technician. Wu is the cargo handler, and the ship's captain, and I believe pilot, is Dawes. They are all staying on board the ship. Essentially, they are more or less a taxi service. In this scenario. But we see the airlock engage on both sides. We see it pressurize, balancing the air in there, and then you get the green light on your end, Major Asagi. Meaning it's safe for you to traverse without a suit.
Okay, she glances at Mr. Green and Sergeant Mitchell. It's like, all right, we're ready. Let's do this. And she will press the button and step forward.
Hell yeah. The door opens up, and you can easily pull this door aside as you enter into the umbilical. There's like a corrugated metal platform that leads you to a second door. As you approach that door, you see on the window that there are people standing on the other side. We see through the window Chief Scientist Kadalt. Snow, could you describe this character and what he looks like?
Chief Scientist Kadalt is an elder gentleman, quite lean, quite tall. Picture Jeremy Irons. And he is standing there looking slightly welcoming but more annoyed. And you can see buzzing around him is what looks like a junior scientist. And he's just standing there expectantly waiting for you to come aboard.
Okay. You make it to the other side of the umbilical. The door gets pulled open by the junior scientist. And you see Chief Scientist Kadalt waiting to welcome you to Kathar Station.
Yeah. Asagi walks forward, notes I'm assuming he has some kind of name badge on his his coat.
Yeah,
or
like
something.
a typical Weyland-Yutani badge system.
Yeah. She will walk forward and she will offer her hand to Kadalt and introduce herself as like Major Julie Asagi of the USCMC. Sergeant Mitchell.
He shakes a Major Asagi's hand and says, Major Asagi, welcome. We weren't expecting anyone from the Marines.
Oh, that's weird. Colonel Percival should have made all the arrangements. This is also one of my colleagues who will be here supporting our investigation. Mr. Green. Sorry, Donald Green.
He nods in the background.
Yeah, you see that Chief Scientist offers his hand to Donald Green and says, welcome. Can we assist with anything?
Well, yes. We are obviously, you must know why we're here. We are investigating the Sulaco's role in what happened here on this LV-426, and we need to find out what happened to it.
Oh, that could be a problem. The radiation down there is we've been monitoring it for a while, and it's problematic.
That's okay. I'm sure we could find what we need here. I don't think we need to go down to the planet.
Oh, of course. Yes. And he looks over at the junior scientist and says, we'll be happy to assist.
From behind you, you hear the clank of like hurried steps across the corrugated metal, and you see, similarly to Donald Green, you see someone huffing and puffing, dressed in a suit, not like a high-end suit, but sort of like a mid-grade suit, and you see a youngish man in his late 20s, early 30s, typical like briefcase, Weyland-Yutani symbol on the briefcase, sort of huffing and puffing. Donald and Julie, you would know this is the Weyland-Yutani auditor, Robert Scheider. He is essentially your escort through this, being a Weyland-Yutani representative on a Weyland-Yutani ship. He's sort of like your watchdog. Like he's the one that's kind of bringing you through places. And he sort of runs up and through the umbilical towards you, and he says, "I excuse me. I thought we were all waiting to go as a group. I apologize. I didn't realize that we were already boarding, and that I seemed to be." I was not informed either way.
She smiles like politely at him. It's like, 0800, Mr. Schneider, or sorry, Sheeter.
Sorry, I didn't realize that the time that it sons and the regardless. Chief Scientist, I am Auditor Scheider, Robert Scheider. I'm from the company, and if they have not explained already, we are here to investigate, and of course look for survivors of the events that happened with the atmospheric processor and the Hadley's Hope colony on the moon below,
Mhm.
and see what happened to the the Sulaco, whatever,
Yes, the
the Colonial
USMCM.
Marine ship.
Yes.
That we had sent here. So everything here should be on the up and up. So is there anything you can tell us about the moon below? Have you found any survivors? Is there any wreckage?
Well, Order to Shida, as you're aware, our mission here is to try to find survivors as well as monitor the radiation. So far, we've had no luck finding any survivors.
Yes, that I am not surprised, and he's kind of saying this more to Green and Asagi. Like I am not surprised. It was a fairly sizable terraforming colony, and as you know, the nuclear processing of the atmospheric processor, an explosion like that, the radiation. Could eat through suits in a matter of days, and it's been it's a 3-week jump out to get out this far, so likely any survivors of the initial explosion, as I had said before in my reports, would not be surviving much longer.
Yes.
We can't just take one person's word for it.
True. And Mr.
Several people here on the station take
And
several people's word.
Mr. Green, you might be an expert on this at least. Maybe you can offer some some expertise on the matter. And she looks back to the scientist, Godot. How common is it for these nuclear processors to go critical and explode?
The failure rate is well within acceptable standards by Weyland-Yutani levels. It doesn't happen often, but certainly it's worth the risk.
I suppose so, because, well, it makes the area completely uninhabitable.
Didn't really answer the question. And Donald is writing down that everything that Kidult is saying.
Well, if you want a more thorough explanation, our research is open to you to study. And he reaches over to a console and says, Stanton, make sure that our visitors have access to all our research on the radiation and survivors.
And the
Understood.
failure rate?
Sorry, what did you say, Chris?
And the failure rate is what, 1 in how many?
The failure rate, well, there's a lot of factors that affect the failure rate of these types of facilities. I wouldn't say it's excessive. As I said, Weyland-Yutani has standards that it likes to meet. A failure rate is well within the profit guideline.
Yes, the report that we received from Corporal Hicks did say that the atmospheric processor went critical, but it failed. But he did not mention the cause. Have you determined the cause?
At the moment, we assume there was some sort of human failure. It certainly wasn't a problem with the technology itself.
Yes. Perhaps we can go to someplace a little bit more comfortable to begin our research.
Oh, of course. We've cleared out one of the labs for you to do your research. It's right through those doors. Our goal is to make your time here as efficient as possible and get you on your way as soon as we can.
She smiles, understanding the polite undertones of what he's dishing out there. And she will follow along.
Okay. He takes you through a set of doors into a small lab they've set up for you.
Very nice.
You see a very basic lab. Everything here looks it looks exactly like it should. Everything here is for gathering data on radiation clouds, how to send testing drones down there. You actually see a few small drones that have come back that are currently in a decontamination sort of chamber. Everything looks like what they should be doing. In that they are, researching, mitigation factors, removal factors, decay rate of the radiation cloud that is in here. You can see that most of the lab has been cleared out except for the things that are currently functioning, that are running tests or whatever, to give you a working space so that you guys can kind of have your, run of the place, as it were. And you... So Chief Scientist Kadal sort of leads you in there. Scheider follows along as well. And you're aware, based on your conversation, that there are a few other people here. The junior scientist also kind of hurries in. You see him sort of escort you guys towards that area, and then he sort of squirrels off to go do science, sort of leaving you alone to do whatever it is you'd like to do. So Major Asagi and Donald Green, what are you looking for here on board the ship? Is there anything you'd like to try to investigate first, or crew that you'd like to interrogate or question, whatever term you'd like?
Chris, do you have any ideas off the top of your head?
So is Kadalt with us?
Kadal, physically with you?
Mm-hmm.
That's up to you.
Yes, physically.
Yeah, he'd be standing by to assist.
To assist. Okay.
You didn't seem to like that answer, Chris.
I don't trust him. I think for Sir Donald Green, it's about speaking to the scientists aboard. And if the chief scientist is the only one we're allowed to talk to, well, he would start with Mr. Kadalt, Doctor, whatever. Are we able to speak to your scientists aboard?
Well, the only scientists currently aboard are myself and my assistant Lopez. But me being the chief scientist, Lopez, he points out he was with us when you boarded. I can get him if you need to, but
the squirrely young man.
He's just an assistant. I deal with all the data and he provides any insight he gathers from me, but mostly he's there just to get me coffee.
And the whole station is just the two of you?
We have Stan, who's our tech support, and we have another small crew that's actually down on the planet at the moment, gathering data.
Where the radiation eats through your suits, you said?
The radiation isn't everywhere. It's they're in a safe area. You can't study it from all the way up here.
Of course.
Fair enough. So we got I have my report here through the official USCMC channels. How obviously this is a Weyland-Yutani facility. How did you guys receive your information regarding the catastrophe here?
We were just a part of the mission. Your auditor Scheider actually was the one that provided us the information and asked us to come here and do the research.
Right. Yeah, she gestures to the station. Extremely efficient, as is the Weyland-Yutani way.
Yes, we were doing.
Of course. If I may, Mr. Cadalt, the Hadley's Hope installation was in fact one of Weyland-Yutani terraforming operation. So the moment, and I'm sure in your myriad of reports you would have seen that. One of our very own employees, Carter Burke, was actually with your Marines on the Sulaco. He is still missing, and his whereabouts and the reason why the atmospheric processor went critical is of tantamount importance to us, as this drastically impacts our terraforming operations. It's of the utmost importance. Hence why we installed the station here to monitor and research what could have happened.
And pulled one of their senior researchers off other important projects.
Of course.
So, hold on. And he looks back at his notes. You said that you believe that this terraforming reactor didn't just malfunction by anything but human error, correct?
Correct. If you understand the technology, there are so many fail-safes that are built in that it's almost impossible for one of them to just fail as spectacularly as it did.
So what is the financial benefit of having a station sitting above a planet where you know what caused the explosion, monitoring a gas cloud, looking for survivors that you've already said probably don't exist?
Well, I mean, I'm sure if there are any survivors there, their families would appreciate us finding them. But more importantly, it's a requirement by Weyland-Yutani to fully understand all operations and in the case of an operation failing, understanding why. Whilst we do have the hypothesis it was likely human error, nothing answers questions like empirical evidence.
Mike,
Agreed.
do I know if the Weyland-Yutani people know what I know regarding the report that Corporal Hicks sent in, the mission report about the xenomorphs overrunning Hadley's Hope? Or is this just marine knowledge?
Would you know if they know?
Yeah.
You know what? I will tell you this. You would know. You would know. This is not just a report. This is your report. The Hadley's Hope report is your report. The colonial Marines, they don't have full jurisdiction everywhere. Sort of every faction in Alien is like its own sovereign entity. So you showing up unannounced and kicking the door in would have repercussions. So essentially you would have had to show at least some of this information to Weyland-Yutani to get this escort here. So they would know at least some of that.
This is all stemming from watershed events, if you will, all the way back from the Nostromo report and the incident. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yes, the Nostromo was actually a Weyland-Yutani contracted ship.
Yes, and so I don't mean to bore you with the minor details here. The report and that which led to the ultimate destruction of that ship led that the crew picked up an alien life form on LV-426. It killed the entire crew of the Nostromo, and then it was later found out that the colony that has been started on LV-426, we lost contact with the colony. Are you following me so far, correct?
I am, yes.
Yes. And so the colony that was started where this alien life form was found was lost contact. So we took the surviving member of the Nostromo with the Marine crew that of the Sulaco, they were sent to investigate.
All of this is alleged. You understand that the Nostromo was a towing, was a freighter, and the crew
Yes.
actually it blew up a refinery. Millions of dollars worth of materials blew it up. So there is no evidence that anything happened to the crew outside the fact that they exploded a refinery. There's no evidence of some sort of alien contaminant, and all we have is the story of one woman who, frankly, was trapped in cryo for 50 years. And you know how extended cryo can frazzle the mind.
Well, sure, but
And of course, in those 50 years, the Hadley's Hope colony had been a successful colony for some 20 years.
So, and she flips open her report of Hadley's Hope. It's like, so what is this rumor that I have heard, and that was reported by Corporal Hicks, who took over the mission from Lieutenant Gorman. I think he was a lieutenant. That that a salvage crew from Hadley's Hope was ordered by Mr. Carter Burke to investigate the coordinates where this alien life form was found.
I think you have a little bit of your communication crossed here. Carter Burke was, in fact, sent with the Marines of the Sulaco, as I am with you, to visit the Hadley's Hope installation where we had lost contact and figure out why. It was a fairly routine, run-of-the-mill mission, and it clearly, at least to my assumption, and he sort of like motions towards Kadalt, that resulted in some sort of human element negative interaction with the core, the reactor core, and the ultimate explosion of the atmospheric processor, from what I understand.
Well, definitely something that would affect the human interaction with the reactor core would be the fact that Hadley's Hope was overrun by these aliens, she checks, xenomorphs, as Corporal Hicks calls it.
I see. I've heard this thrown around, and the only thing I can think of is some sort of like space boogeyman. No one has ever seen these, and Kadalt, you've been here. You've been monitoring this for several weeks now. Have you seen any sign of an alien infestation or some sort of creature down there that could explode a reactor?
Absolutely not. I mean, we've been here for quite a while and trying to find survivors. Surely, if one of these aliens was in the vicinity, we would have encountered it, and we might not even be here right now, and you might not be able to talk to me. So obviously, yeah. I think sometimes, I think you said Corporal Hicks, was it? Under duress. People can often, elaborate or exaggerate a situation.
She holds her hand up. I can assure you that one of our most decorated Marines in Corporal Hicks is he's a decorated corporal. delete.
I love that.
I can assure you that our Marines are not prone to flights of fancy and embellishment of details. I have no reason to believe that anything that Corporal Hicks recorded in his official mission detail report was false in any way. He reports that the Hadley's Hope installation was overrun by xenomorphs and that they were holed up in a sort of hive in the base of the reactor core. And then
mean,
they managed to escape before as it exploded. And thus the only survivors were himself, the what do they call it? The Cyberdyne model Bishop, and Warrant Officer Ripley, and a Hadley Hope survivor of Rebecca Jordan.
I don't mean to disparage this Corporal Hickson. I meant no offence, but surely you can understand that in any stressful situation, someone who may have accidentally caused damage to a facility to the extent that was caused, that they would come up with some elaborate reason as to why it's happened. I'd be interested to read the report if you have it. I haven't ever heard of this report. And what was it you called? Xenomorphs?
Xenomorphs, yes. Well,
Xenomorphs, yeah.
Mike, is that something that she would do, is let him read her report?
That's entirely up to you.
She'll hold off for now. It's like, so you mentioned, sorry, I forget your exact wording here. You mentioned that they...
And Cadot will look over at Green and says, I'm sure you can provide her the exact wording.
Yes.
Who's been taking notes diligently this entire time.
He has been taking notes.
Stenographer. You
Mike.
said that if they tampered with the equipment, I'm assuming you mean in the reactor core, that they would make up something. But you said that there's all these fail safes. So
yeah, they're all automated fail safes, but the unknown human element can override those fail safes.
So what do you think their purpose would be if they were purposely messing with the reactor core? Why would they do that?
I mean, I haven't seen your report. That might be able to provide me some insight, but without knowing the people involved themselves, who knows why anyone does anything? Who knows why you've come out all this way to check on our research? Who knows why?
She taps her finger on her report. So I'll provide you with a copy of my summary here, Dr. Cadeau. And let me be perfectly clear. I'm here to find out what happened to my men on the Sulaco. And I will find out the truth.
Well, of course we're here. That's what we're here to do, provide help. But it sounds like you've already made up your own mind.
I have not made up any mind, but I'm also...
I was under the impression that the Sulaco left. It left the planet side. Is that not?
Yes, but it's missing, not counting, former Warrant Officer Ripley and the Hadley Hope survivor Rebecca Jordan. There's only one member of my Marine crew who survived.
And have you
Everyone
not been able
else.
to interview your Marine?
The ship has not returned to Gateway Station yet.
Oh, and that's not a suspicious at all to you, that one of your Marines would not return to his port of call?
It is concerning.
Interesting.
It does sound counterproductive that the most information you could probably get is from your missing Marine, yet you're here talking to us and not looking for him.
Well, he left from someplace, which is right here.
Well, so far we haven't found him.
What's that?
You have to go to where he was last seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, well, we definitely haven't found him here, so I suggest you take what information you need and keep looking for him elsewhere.
Perfect. So what have you found here? And she will sit down, hands like crossed, and put on her thing.
So we'll
Um,
pause. We'll pause right there. And Donald Green, what are you doing as you are diligently taking some notes on this conversation, this back and forth?
He's sitting there like this.
Yeah.
He's definitely taking notes, but he's watching Kadalt. When the discussion of the xenomorphs came up, and he says, "Don't know what you're talking about. Never heard of those things." Does he look like he's telling the truth? At least from
Ooh,
his knowledge.
interesting. Here's what I'll say: is both of you roll me a manipulation. Oh, sorry. Kadalt, roll me a manipulation. Green, roll me an observation.
Observation.
He
One
looks.
success.
It looks accurate. He looks like he is convincingly enough. Does not know what. Seems like he doesn't know what you're talking about, or what the major is talking about.
Okay.
Is there anything else that Mr. Green is doing?
No, I think at the moment he's watching and taking notes to understand who knows what.
Mm.
And then as the major sits back and says, "Tell me what you do know," he also starts watching the other guy, the auditor.
The auditor, Scheider, Robert
Yeah.
Scheider. Yeah. You see Scheider is standing there, and he sort of like leans back on one of the lab counters and lets Kadalt field this question as the major.
Yeah, Kadalt just looks over. Lopez, provide them with the reports of what we've found so far. We have nothing to hide from the Marines. And he looks over at Chider and says, Auditor, a word, please.
You see Lopez sort of like begin to like type something into the terminal, and he begins to like send data. Each of you should have a Seegson's PDAT, so personal like data tablet, and he sends you the reports of what they have discovered, and the reports are drier than whatever Donald Green is doing with law things. It's all like straight up radiation reports. They think that like maybe 6 to 8 months the radiation cloud should disperse enough that it would be safe enough to re-enter the area without the need of a suit. All science-y radiation, exactly what you would expect them to send when you say, "What have you found out?" And in the meantime, you see Robert Scheider walk over towards Kadalt.
Do they step out of the room?
Yeah, Kadalt would step out of the room.
As they step out of the room and the nerd finishes sending his stuff, Donald Green gets up, walks up and says, "Just a reminder, the chief scientist did say that you would provide us with any and all access. So can I just have a look at the terminal?" I need to just double check because there was other data that he said we could have access to earlier. He said, and I would quote what data was. I can't remember exactly what he said when we stepped onto the ship.
He looks to you and he says, yes, you have access. And you see him pull out his Weyland-Yutani card and clip it back on. And he says, by all means, the access terminal is yours.
Oh, I don't have access to the terminal. Can you put your card back in, please?
As far as I understand it, the auditor, Mr. Scheider, should have given you access with your visitor badge.
Okay.
That should clear you for everything that you need.
He inserts his badge, and he's going to make sure that all of the data he can see is the same data that the nerd sent him. If there's anything missing,
roll me a Comtech.
Contact.
Yeah.
Contact. One success.
A successful Comtech. You see all of the same thing that he sent you, and you can obviously see that there are places you are locked out of. Your badge does give you access, but like your badge gives you access to the front door of the lobby and not to the entire hotel kind of thing, right? So it is a proprietary Weyland-Yutani science station, and you have visitors access, which you can tell very easily that it is curated for you. This is what they want you to access. Whether the they is the crew here or Weyland-Yutani proper, Weyland-Yutani is who made your badge, so it's likely, a little bit higher than Junior Ensign Lopez here.
Okay.
Please sign into the visitor's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, it's the guest. You have the guest Wi-Fi password. Yeah. We're gonna cut outside the room, leaving Green and Asagi to talk amongst themselves, and we cut to Kadalt and Scheider.
Once they're outside of the room, Kadalt will just look at Scheider and say, "How long is this going to go on? We're at a crucial point in our research."
Listen, I am trying to get them off of here as quickly as possible. I assume everything has been scrubbed clean. There's nothing that they could possibly find here on the Kathar station, correct?
You didn't pull me from my research to this mission because I wasn't aware of what's at stake here. Of course, we've cleaned everything off.
Okay, and as far as I am understanding it, there should be no reason for them to travel planet side. There's no reason to inspect LV-426, correct? There's no reason for them to see the ruins of Hadley's Hope, right?
You tell me. You brought them here. I've given them all the information they require.
Okay. Well, let's keep up the radiation, the high levels of radiation, unsafe, non-standard conditions, et cetera, et cetera. More importantly, where are we? Where are we in... Give me the rundown. What's happening here? How far have you gotten in the research?
So we have... we're expecting delivery within 2 weeks, and we have a return delivery ready to go.
Okay, and I have a manifest here of everyone that should be here. I'm... Who is this? And he shows you his PDAT, and you see the name Kodo, Kotto, and he says, "I don't have any reference of this person assigned here, and I have not seen them."
They're down planet side. They were the security for the supplies.
The supplies?
The prisoners?
The prisoners?
You should be aware of this. You are in charge of this mission.
I know. Let's assume that I don't know what you're talking about. There are prisoners on the station?
Yes, we needed test subjects. You know this. They're currently sedated. They're in hypersleep.
Here?
Yes, here.
Here's what I'll say. I'm impressed thus far, Kadalt. The prisoners was a genius pull. That did not come from me. I'm not sure how you made this happen, but that is, and how many of them?
We have 6 here prepped ready for return and 6 planet side.
6 here already incubated.
Yes.
You're right. I did not pull you from that, whatever mission that was, for no reason. You are, I stand impressed thus far, and there's no way for those two to access that area, correct? With the
of course
the 6.
What?
Good.
That's a highly secure area, but the longer they stay here, the greater chance that they can poke into something that they shouldn't poke into.
Yes, we need to answer all questions, dot T's, cross I's, etc., and whatever we need to do to get them off of here. I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree more. Is there anything else I should know about what's happening here?
It's all in the reports I provide back to management. So unless you have any questions, I think we need to keep an eye on those.
Yes.
3 in there.
Yes. Let your staff know no unauthorized areas, maintain positive control of all badges, system access, etc. Contain this as much as humanly possible.
And he said, agreed. I will go and meet with Stanton and make sure that those security measures are all in place. You babysit the guests, and like I said, the sooner they're gone, the less likely they can find anything.
He kind of nods to you, and you see him turn to a terminal access and start to type in a few things as you head off with your guys. And we cut back in, reverse time a little bit, and we see Donald Green and Major Julie Asagi inside this lab, with an awkwardly standing by Lopez, a junior scientist here. Sort of standing by, what are the two of you doing as you are finally more or less alone?
As Donald realizes that he doesn't have all the information, he looks to Lopez. Says, this bit's missing. So you sent through to my data pad this information about the gas clouds, but it's not available on the terminal. Can you correct that? And also, I'm also not seeing your notes on those xenomorphs that the Major was talking about.
Oh, you're not seeing our notes on the the mythological alien creature because we don't have any notes on them. They're not real. They're not real. So it would essentially be a fantasy story for me to keep notes on a creature that doesn't exist, that we have no evidence exists. I guess everything is real in the realm of possibility. It's not impossible. It's just incredibly improbable, and we have no evidence of said creature.
Can we tell if he's lying?
Yeah. Roll me a observation.
Can I do that as well, Mike?
Yeah.
1 success.
And I will roll. Nope, that's not how you roll in this game. You need a slash in there. You can tell he's being less than truthful, lawyer of lawyers.
So he looks to me and goes, well, even if you clearly have had a suspicion of these so-called mythological creatures, but so there's no investigation into it at all. Even if you say it doesn't exist, but you still would have investigated since you knew that there was a possibility.
Yes, in the sense that the survivor of the Nostromo had indicated that there had been something. We heard that there was a similar indication, although she was here as well. So there's some level of the hypersleep sickness. And what I can say is that the group of people on the ground, if they were to find anything that is non-standard or non-human or of the various sentient that we're aware of, that information would come back here if there were such an information to be had, which I'm saying that there is not. So what I'm saying is we're not actually investigating intentionally, but if we stumble across it, then and we haven't.
She's going to interrupt him. She's going to ask him, what did you guys find at the coordinates that the Nostromo investigated and that Carter Burke, she taps, requested investigated? And she's going to try and use her, she's going to try, can I use command to, manipulate him a little bit? Not or intimidate him? Because there's no intimidation.
Intimidation would be manipulate. Command would be like giving him a direct order to tell you things because of who you are as a person, like your rank kind of thing. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, roll me a manipulation, I think.
No.
Okay.
I can take stress and re-roll, right?
You can take stress and re-roll.
Where's the stress level?
Should be on like the left-hand side, I think.
Yeah. Manipulation. Oh, fuck. That's not good.
Nice. In the center of your sheet, go ahead and roll me panic. Center or top?
Center top. Center top.
Should be like your name, your job, and then a bunch of roll buttons, and one of them should say panic. There you go. Nervous twitch. Your stress level and the stress level of all friendly PCs in a short range increased by 1. So Donald Green, go ahead and increase your stress level by 1. What I'll say is, Major Asagi, what does that look like? As you know, you've come here. You're entrusted with finding out what happened to a crew, an entire. There's like 10 people that are missing, a whole ship that's missing. You have been given the corporate runaround. And you are essentially talking to a lackey. And how does this nervous twitch manifest in you, in your increased stress level?
Yeah, I think she was sitting down, but she has stood up, and she's kind of come over, and she's kind of got like a hand on her hip, and she's like leaning her hand down on the table, like resting on her reports, and like so she's like looking down. And she's just like taking like namaste type of deep breaths here. And like, yeah. And she looks like she knows she's getting the corporate runaround, and she's not happy about it. So she's just like, her nervous tick is just like her like taking like steady deep breaths.
Okay. So Donald, you see this. You see this, seasoned Marine, decorated, higher-ranking Marine, sort of starting to lose their cool, and you see them losing it on what is, ostensibly like a mid-20s assistant scientist, who's just doing their best. And Lopez looks to you and says, "I'm sorry, I don't. You're referring to a specific site. As far as I'm understanding, they touched down at the Hadley's Hope installation. I'm not sure of any other."
The Nostromo was reacting to a beacon investigated on Weyland-Yutani orders. So I want to know what you guys, you people, have found at that location.
We don't. That was before I was born.
Well,
surely a log. You'd have a record.
It would have been a record in the Nostromo, but they blew it up.
But there's no record of Weyland-Yutani sending the Nostromo there?
No, I'm sorry. I believe you're misunderstanding. From what I understand, the Weyland-Yutani didn't send them there. There's a standing order on any Weyland-Yutani contracts that, in fact, and he like motions to Donald Green, by law, anyone that is on a contracted mission for any of the any of the companies, the corporations, if they receive a distress signal of any kind, that they must respond to that, pending forfeiture of all gains. So it's not on Weyland-Yutani to send them. That's the law. Correct, Mr. Green?
That is correct.
So we didn't send them to any location, as far as we understand it, from the Ripley, that she had mentioned that they received a distress call. And all of that should be in the report, the Nostromo report. So I don't know what the location, where they received but we've been here for 20 some odd years, and we've never seen a distress call or anything of the kind that would point towards any truth in Miss Ripley's story.
So how about you open the computer terminal here and you do a search for requests done by Carter Burke. Burke Carter J.
Quick question, Mike.
Yes.
The Sulaco. So you just said, as Lopez, that any distress signal that is received has to be responded to, right?
Correct.
Is that by the company whose vessel it was? Or is it by any company?
I don't know. I think it is like ICC law that like any if you are a contracted vessel and there is a distress signal, it is your job to like that supersedes whatever your directive is to go investigate that under penalty of law and forfeiture of all gains. So yes, okay. I think.
And the Sulaco, whose ship was that?
It's a marine ship.
Marine.
It's a UC. It's a UCC marine ship.
And did that send? So there was a final report from the Sulaco which went out, but was that a distress signal?
For the in-game narrative, it is not. They sent a report to like Major Asagi and like to like the general Space Marines to say like, hey, this is what happened, and they sent that report right before they were supposed to jump, right before they were supposed to do like hyper travel, and that's it. They never arrived at their destination, and so there's no in between of what happened there.
Okay, cool.
So it sounds like Asagi, you were directing him to do something.
Yeah, I want him to go in and do a search for essentially the request for that Carter Burke would have made to send the crew of Hadley or the people of Hadley's Hope to investigate those coordinates.
He looks to you and says, "I'm sorry, I'm not able to do that. I'm not unwilling." And he notices you like getting tense. This terminal is only attached to the research banks. So the only information on here is the information that we have put on here as far as research. If you're trying to access Weyland-Yutani information outside of our research terminals, you'd have to go to Mother.
How common is that to do that?
Pretty common. Mother is the AI. It's on like most ships. So like anything that like ties back to like Weyland-Yutani mainframe, and not like something that takes like a 3-week fucking email to them, would be through Mother. So like Burke didn't generate that message from this space station, so it's not on this space station.
Yeah,
they don't have like interplanetary Google. Mother is the closest thing to that.
Perhaps maybe you can show us to Mother then.
Yeah, of course, if that's what is necessary. And he begins to walk through the bay and opens the door, and you see that outside of the door is Scheider, who looks, surprised to see you leaving, and he says, "Oh, are we off to search the rest of the station?"
Yes, Mr. Lopez here was going to show us Mother.
Oh, is there anything I can help you with?
Not at this time, I don't think. You've been very helpful so far, but we just need to do cross some T's, dot some I's. You know how it is.
Of course. By all means, anything that we can do to aid in your investigation here, lead the way, Lopez. And Lopez starts to lead the way. And you quickly realize that Scheider, despite being of no use to you, is absolutely following the group. He is your little shadow.
I'm also eyeing up Sergeant Mitchell and being like, get
Do
a
you
load of
want
this
him?
guy to,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Perfect. Do you? I mean, you have Sergeant Mitchell is yours to like send off to do whatever you need to do. So if you need him to like go look elsewhere, you can.
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I'd like to get like a layout of this place and like what other um scientific facilities they have on board. Like what kind of labs do they have?
Yeah. So he pops off to go do that as you are led through the station to towards the mother unit. Meanwhile, Chief Scientist Kadal, what are you up to?
He's going to see the tech guy Stanton, just to make sure that all the security is secure and that there's no way they can access anything else. Reassuring Stanton that he needs to keep a close watch on all of them if he can.
Yeah. So you head down towards where like the cargo is, and you would know that there are 2 additional cargo like storage units that are actually tethered to the space station. You would need like an EVA suit to access them. And Stanton is down there. Nothing's broken, so he's not fixing anything. So he's just sort of perpetually on Union break. And you see as you enter the room, his feet immediately drop off the table, and he fixes his hat, and he says, "Sir, is there anything I can do to help?"
This Marine, they're going to be a problem. You need to be on high alert. Keep an eye on them. Make sure they keep out of any systems that they shouldn't be in. Make sure they keep out of any areas they shouldn't be in. And you know. Just make sure that all our real research is unaccessible.
Oh, absolutely understood. The doors are locked down. Outside of you and I, there's no access to these locations. There's no getting past these babies. And he like pads the outside access door. Everything should be fine, sir.
Yeah. Alert me if any of them come nosing around.
Will do. Will do immediately. Do you have your personal comms on you?
At all times.
Perfect. If anyone comes by, you'll be the first to know.
Right. As you were.
And
not as you were. Be much more vigilant than you were.
Of course. Yes. And he like just pulls out like a wrench and just starts like watching you as you leave, turning a bolt and turning it back. And we cut back down the hallway as Major Sagi and Green are being led to the mother unit. Major, you asked to be led here. Green, are you coming along for the ride, or is there anything else you would like to be doing while this is happening?
I think for now he would be going along for the ride.
Okay. So you follow, and Lopez brings you to the door, and opens the door for Mother. The door slides open, and you see this like beige white style room. There's a center chair in here, and it's a very like almost like a half an egg, so like a dome shaped room. You see like a bunch of lights and like access like terminals and levers sort of all over here, and they're sort of beeping and booping in sequence. And he motions you to that, and you see there's a large chair in the center with a small terminal access point attached to that. And he says it's a bit crowded in here, but there is only one seat.
She looks at him up and down and goes, "Yes, it is crowded in here, Mr. Scheider."
I'm sorry?
You can wait outside.
It is my job to audit anything that is found during this. I'm an escort for you, Major.
Yes, you're not a babysitter.
That is almost by definition what an escort is. If you'd like, make me a command roll.
Yeah, I'm a big girl, Mr. Schneider. Perhaps you should wait outside until we're done. Fuck my life, Jesus.
Yes. Would you like to push that roll? Actually, you can't. You can't push on an
I
alien.
can't push it.
You can't push on
Yeah.
a failed. Go ahead and roll me a panic. 2. You keep it together. You keep it together. You're getting hot under the
God.
collar. Hot under the collar.
So my
here's what I'll
stress
say.
does not increase?
It does not increase.
Okay.
You're getting hot though. Getting hot. It's hot in here. What I will say is, Green, you see this interaction happening. You're obviously here. Lopez is doing nothing. This is far above his pay grade. And you know that the major sent off her sergeant to go do some other things. Do you say anything in this situation, Donald Green?
He waits until Schneider, whatever his name is distracted talking to the major, and he looks to Lopez and says, "It's a very big station for monitoring planetary things. Can you show me one of your labs by chance?"
Oh,
Just
yeah.
interested to see what you're actually studying.
Of course. We can do that. And he starts to lead you away. Meanwhile, the major and Scheider are bickering back and forth, and ultimately, with Green and Lopez leaving, the room gets vastly less crowded, and Scheider absolutely goes into the mother room with you. He allows you to sit down, like he doesn't take the seat, but he is standing there like a babysitter. So while Major Julie reduces that steam back under the collar, we're gonna quickly follow Green and Lopez towards one of the labs. He leads you past the lab that you had already seen to a second larger, like that's probably the primary lab. And you can see that it's much the same. There are a couple of drones that have either been in repair or have just finished decom. There's a couple of large, probably like a foot and a half, like cylinders that are presumably for like capturing particles of the radiation cloud to study here. But everything looks like a above board lab here. What are you looking for in this lab?
He's trying to get him away from the others. And he's looking for an opportunity to try and pick up an ID card. So if anything's lying around that looks like an ID card, or if his ID card is stuck in a back pocket, he will try and remove it from the back pocket.
Interesting. I'm going to have you give me a roll for this bullshit. What it would be an agility roll. I'm thinking mobility here. So make me a mobility roll.
Can I argue for observation, Mike?
You cannot. So observation would be your ability to see stuff. Mobility is your pickpocket, essentially, to try to steal this. That is one success. Let me see. Let me see if the good scientist notices anything. He does not. So he's showing you around the lab and sort of explaining the mundanities of the radiation collection and what we do here. He's diligently being a scientist and doing his job in showcasing this place to you to make sure that it is as mundane as it is. And in doing so, you are able to unclip the badge from his lab coat pocket. You now have access. You have at least his access level to the station.
So Donald is going to try and keep him extra distracted. He is going to, as he's going on about, when we investigate the gas cloud. He's going to kind of keep leaning in and asking questions that anything that sort of excites him along the way. If he gets excited about talking about a gas cloud, he's going to lean into that to make him talk as much as possible, in the hopes that he overtalks and spills information that he shouldn't. And in keeping him distracted, he's going to try and clip on the visitor badge to Lopez's coat as well.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to have you make me 2 rolls. One is a manipulation. You can keep him talking. That's easy to do. The manipulation is to see if you get him to spill anything.
Sure. So that 2 successes.
2 successes. And then roll me 1 more mobility to see if you can plant your badge on him. You fail, you don't plant it. You succeed, you do. He doesn't notice on a... Yeah, okay. So you just don't get it on there. So he doesn't notice you trying to clip it on, but you actually don't get it on there. Unless you want to take a point of stress. And actually, you should have a point of stress.
I've moved away from what's-her-face.
No,
you still... While you were within shot... Oh, you stay with it. Okay.
Yeah. You don't lose stress unless you... You just become stressed.
Let me roll you 3d6s for those last 3 rolls. 6.
Great. As long as they're not a 1, you're good to go. Cool. Stress just stays with you unless you do drugs about it. Or unless you have like a moment alone and like can have some quiet contemplation and get zen with things.
Cool.
So he is he lets slip that one of the some of their supplies are running low. They're expecting a resupply in a few weeks. He does mention the ground crew, and he does. I think Kadalt had mentioned that there was Kadalt. Actually, how many people did you say were in the ground crew when you were talking to these dirty spies?
The dirty spies? I think he would have mentioned... I don't know if he mentioned a number, but if he did, he would have been 2.
Okay. Lopez definitely mentions that there are like 8 or 9 people planet side, which is more than you were told by Kadalt. He also references his own doctorate, like his own specialty, his science specialty, that he's actually a biologist, which is strange for radiation clouds, that they would send a biologist to, not like a radiologist or something along those kinds. So he mentioned that he is in fact a biologist, that there are 8 or 9 people planet side. Like he says, like the crew of 8 or 9 down there that's doing the work for us, the planet side work. And then he mentions that they are running low on supplies and they are expecting a resupply in about 3 weeks. So that's what you get out of him for those 2 successes. And of course, his badge. What are you doing with that information?
As he mentions, he's a biologist. Donald said, well, what sort of biology? Anything in particular? Do you studying organisms living in radiation areas? Or?
My background is actually in the use of biology in, as you know, Weyland-Yutani is terraforming. Along with many other corporations, are terraforming planets. And as much as we would like to think that the terraforming operation would just make them Earth-like, we can't survey the entire planet. And so there could be foreign microscopic organisms or things that could impact human longevity in the form of like diseases. So my specialty was actually in researching like biological pathogens, so that we could cure any sicknesses that could arise from being on foreign planets. Being useful to the continued human expansion into space.
strange to be put into a position that doesn't really help your or your docker? It doesn't really help with just
Well, it is. It is. I am hoping that the work we're doing here it showcases my strengths, and that I should be hopefully due for a promotion soon. In that I can be in a position similar to Chief Scientist Kadalt, where perhaps I can run my own team of biologists and really get into why I chose science. Unfortunately, when you work for a company as large as Weyland-Yutani, it's not necessarily what you want to do, and more of what they need you to do. In some regards, science is science.
That's fair. And I mean, running a team of, what was it, 8 or 9 biologists is always, it's a good career to hope for.
Yeah, I would absolutely, I would dream to run a team of 8 or 9. That would be, I'll run a team of 2 or 3 would be outstanding. But yeah, that'd be great.
So Donald starts to sort of head him towards the door to start moving his way back towards the major.
Okay.
And sort of like ushering him along. And as he's walking, he's like, well, do you ever get to go to the planet with the other scientists?
No. I am Kadalt's assistant in this regard, so I stay here to work directly with him. The team down there is primarily collection modules and any signs of life, or I guess of death as well, within the ruins of the blast site. So no, I haven't had a chance to head planetside myself. And frankly, with the level of radiation, I don't know that I would. I don't know that I would like that.
But I mean, it's safe for the others. Why isn't it safe for you?
It's safe enough in that we have a small ground base that they can decontaminate from and remain safe, but they can only be outside in it for a certain number of hours in a given day before it needs to decontaminate. And in general, the level of exposure to radiation it's something I'd prefer to mitigate as much as possible.
That is totally fair.
I assume it's the same reason you guys are here and not there.
Well, we were told it wasn't safe to go on the planet.
See?
As they get to the original lab that we were led into, Donald will go, well, I need to start reading through all the wonderful information you provided. So I'm just going to take a seat within here.
Of course.
Need to keep looking after the major.
Yeah, this is cleared out for you to use for your investigation. By all means, make yourself at home here.
He's going to nip in, and is Lopez staying or is Lopez?
No,
going?
he takes your sign to head out with the to find the major, and leaves you alone in this lab.
He is going to jam his card into the machine and try and transfer as much data to his data pad as he can.
Perfect. Roll me a Comtech.
Comtech. It's that one. No successes.
Would you like to push the roll?
Sure thing, Mike. What happens when I push a roll?
You just click a stress and you push the roll.
One more stress?
Yep.
All right,
and you just re-roll that roll.
Comtech.
You succeed. Roll me a panic. So in the top center of your thing below your name, roll me the button that says panic. You keep your cool. There's a moment, right, where you plug this in, and like it's that moment where like you shouldn't be doing something, so you become that hyper focused, and every sound that a ship makes sounds like someone walking up. Like a pipe creaks and it sounds like someone's behind you, even though you're the only person in this lab and the door didn't open. So you're like a little jumpy at this as you begin to just download mountains of data. I will say with that one success, you find something out. There are 2 cargo modules here on the station. And one of them has a lot of power running to it. Like far more power than a cargo module should have. Like something is powering that up 24/7, and has been for a while. So one of these cargo modules is plugged in and powered up and running something, and it is drawing a decent amount of power. Not quite more power than anywhere else, but like if not the most, it's like the second most power draw on this entire station. That strikes you as strange for a storage module. So as you start downloading data on these things, we cut over to Major Asagi. You are inside the mother unit. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for several things. I'm looking for, like, I don't know how, because I have a list of things that I want to look for, like how you want me to go about rolling for them or
so it's
not.
going to be a comtech. So if everything to do with mother, it's going to be a comtech roll. But what are you looking for in here?
Several things. I want to look for that message that Carter Burke sent to the people of Hadley's Hope.
Yep.
Right. I want to check on the current radiation levels of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I want to see if there's any notification on any kind of cargo brought up from the various sorties down to the planet from the researchers.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to get a rundown, or at least a itemized list of the Hyperdyne android bishop's last activities before he went offline.
Of the bishop that was on the Sulaco?
Yeah.
So
because like I'm assuming, like, well, I could be wrong, but like everything that these androids are doing is like maybe like there's like some kind of data imprint of what they're doing.
You
Right.
are half wrong. The synthetics, the synthetic persons are fully autonomous. They are not connected to Mother in any way, in any way that like a human is not also connected to Mother. They can talk to them. They speak machine language. Like there's like it's like speaking the same language as someone else from a foreign country. However, when they enter their charging cycle, there can be some data transfer. However, the typical like length of time for a charging cycle for a synthetic can be years. So like it would be very lucky if that bishop model like sat down in its charging station and then charged during the events that you're seeking. So what I will say is there is no data of that one, but everything else you can absolutely research. So go ahead and roll me Comtech.
Sure, and I will replace that one with one more, with the new one. Any possible data uploads or hard drive downloads from Hadley's Hope?
Oh, interesting. Okay, yeah, go ahead and roll me a Comtech roll.
Okay, roll 20. Come on. Comtech. I don't have any talents that I could use. One success.
One success. Also go ahead and roll me a secondary check here. Roll me. We're gonna call it mobility, and this is gonna be for like general stealthiness.
Okay. Mobility, dodging as this Snyder guy.
You're just dodging the
Just
truth as you.
Yeah. God almighty. No.
Okay. If you'd like to push, you can.
Yeah, I'll push because this guy is pissing me off. Well, I succeeded.
And
I can't be
kept
together.
You kept your cool. You kept your cool. Okay, cool. So you begin typing things in as quickly as possible, right? And you are like reading things, and like some of the things you're sending, like I assume you're like sending certain things to like your data pad. Some of them are just completely arbitrary, right? They're just like nonsense things. So you're trying to obfuscate what you're doing by like making it so that Scheider sees you doing things, but you're doing it at a rate of speed that he can't like be entirely sure what you just typed into search, and then you would like send, and you would like immediately on the next search.
Yeah.
So you do find a message from Carter Burke to the Hadley's Hope Colony Administration. This is pre-explosion. Carter Burke is directing them to check out a location specified on the planet. So you have essentially grid coordinates on the planet of this. This is very implicit information, for sure. There
So I
are
figured,
no,
like,
okay.
I was gonna say, in terms of like the run around and trying to like obfuscate my things, she's probably like searching like the logs of people who left the station, and then she's doing another search that she'll come back to emails received like before all those things, and then she's like cross-referencing them.
Yeah, 100%. You find out that the, let me see here. Nope, not that one. This one. You find out that the radiation cloud is actually dissipating far faster than the people you've spoken to would have you believe, and that the cloud should be completely dispersed in no less than 6 months. Should be completely safe for everyone to be here. It is generally unsafe currently. However, it is definitely safe enough for you to spend hours on the planet. There's also a ground base down there where you can decontaminate and like recuperate in that. But it is far safer down there than you are led to believe.
Yes. Just an extra question.
Yeah.
I got those grid coordinates. Is the blast zone within, are those grid coordinates inside the blast zone of the reactor? Okay.
Nope.
Perfect.
They are not. And as far as downloads from the planet or like uploads from the planet, there are none. And there was, I think it was one more question you had.
Cargo, any potentially recorded cargo brought back from the multiple, I'm assuming multiple sorties went down to the planet and back, so.
Yes,
Anything
correct.
brought back.
There has been cargo brought back from the planet. Well, you see like logs as in like when a ship left and when it went down, it came back. But the detail, there are no details of the log. It just says when a ship left and came back. And you also know that there are 2 cargo modules tethered to the exterior of the ship. Of the station, rather.
Interesting. Chris, can you think of anything else I could search while I'm here?
Not from Mother.
Suspicious answer.
Unless Mother's got information about xenomorphs.
About terminals?
Xenomorphs.
Oh,
Xenomorphs.
I assure you, if xenomorphs were real, they would be far above your pay grade.
Xenomorphs.
Yeah. That is far
Here's
above.
the xenomorph button.
Yeah. That is far above the pay grade capacity of this station. For them to just give you that information.
Okay. What is the true purpose of this station?
Access denied.
Are you sure? I'm just kidding.
Yep.
Okay.
You type in "Are you sure?" Mother says, "I rest assured that is above your security declination."
Okay.
Actually, says Mother does not make mistakes.
Personnel records? For the
Sorry, what?
station? Personnel records for the station?
Oh, yeah. Personnel records. Beep, 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 beep. Beep, bop.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Cool. It does pull up personnel records. It pulls up. Let me see here. It pulls up Kadalt Lopez. Someone named Kodo. Someone named Carter. Stanton, which you heard Kadalt mention. It pulls up William, who you know, and it lists William as a Hyperdyne android. It also lists the name Beth, Chad, Grohl, Zand with an X, Chin, and Diamond. Yeah.
Diamond. Interesting. Yeah, and she will print off a list of those names. These are some interesting characters you have here. Chad, Diamond. Is it possible to interview these individuals? I'm curious to know what their roles are on this station.
I'm not entirely sure. I'm not aware of every single person that works here, but from what I understand with Kadalt, he had said that there was a crew on LV-426. Perhaps that is the crew there. It does seem fairly sparse here on the station. Perhaps they are the ground crew.
Can we check the logs? She's going to check the logs to see who's actually down there right now.
The log only says when the ship left.
Oh, okay. When did it leave?
Like a week ago.
Well, so they go down for like weeks at a time?
They have a ground base there, so they can like decom and sleep.
Okay, so we don't know who's actually down there.
The log doesn't say, which is, a log should probably say. This does not.
Yes, it's kind of weird that Weyland-Yutani does not record the personnel who has actually gone down to the planet.
You know what? You're entirely correct, Major. This is something I will have a discussion. I'll put this in my report as far as the audit of the station, and I'll have words with Chief Scientist Kadalt, and we'll rectify that immediately.
It's definitely not the way to properly run a facility, that's for sure. Well, why don't we go find out who's actually here, and we will go talk to them.
Okay. So the door opens, and you're headed out to find Kadalt, or just wander around the ship?
Let's wander around for a little bit.
Okay.
See if we could make contact again with Mitchell.
Oh, right. Yes. He comes back. You sent him to find a layout of the ship, and what else?
The layout of the ship, labs that seem kind of out of place, where personnel is hanging out type shit.
You link up with him, and you get a layout of the ship, like a basic map overlay of the ship. It looks exactly like it should. Nothing seems out of place. The only thing that's like not odd, but definitely like sticks out are the two tethered storage modules. They are like large, like imagine like a shipping container that's just sort of like towing. They're towing a shipping container here.
And when you say they're tethered, inside or outside?
Outside. They are outside the station, tethered to the outside. So yeah, that's like it's not unheard of, but it does stick out. As like you've seen the space station, there's probably plenty of room. They are large. Maybe there's not enough room for both of them. But yeah, they are there. As far as where everyone hangs out, there is a galley. There's like a local like a galley here, like a break room that could be where people are hanging out. But you get the impression from Mitchell that like who you've seen, Lopez and Stanton and Kadalt are the only three people on this station currently.
So no Kodo, Carter, their android, Beth, Chad, Grohl, Diamond.
Correct. None of those people are here.
Well, that just means that they're down on the ground, possibly. Um. Hmm. Yeah, I think we need to check out those storage thingies
Okay.
outside.
So as you sort of wander the ship in the general direction of the storage containers, what is Kadalt? Kadalt, what are you doing? What are you doing here?
Kadalt will head back to his office and try to get in contact with the ground crew to get an update.
Perfect. You attempt to get a report from the ground crew. You get no response on the comms. They are not answering your hails.
He'll shoot a quick inquiry to Stanton to check whether station to ground comms are active.
Okay. He gets a little ping on his wristwatch, and he heads off to the comms array on the space station. Fortunately or otherwise, leaving the cargo bay empty as he goes down to this comm station. Mr. Green, what are you doing?
So in his research, Mike, did he find anything? So you mentioned that there was the 2 cargo modules and one had lots of power going to it.
Correct.
Is there any information about Lopez's sort of work specifically? Like what?
You know
he's
what?
studying?
There probably would be because it is his card.
Yeah.
Lopez. Lopez is as he said, as he indicated, he is a biologist. He is a scientist, and his science is not just biology. Well, I mean, I guess it does track with what he said. His science is xenobiology, in that like foreign biology. So like, you know, foreign flora and fauna and anything that may be. And there are like there has been encounters of like scorpions on other planets and like weird worm things. So like there are other creatures out there. So it does list his research as xenobiology, but all of there's no research assigned to him. Everything is assigned to Kadalt, and he is the research like assistant. He's like the underling of him. So there's nothing like he doesn't have his own like workload. It's whatever
Does he have
Kadalt
notes,
needs
though?
for him.
Does he have notes of things that he submitted?
Interesting.
Ooh.
You know what? Yes. I will say yes. He does have notes on things he submitted. They are a little nondescript, but they do talk about the development of a drug. It is a drug that inhibits growth. Growth. What the hell's the word I'm looking for?
Like a metabolizing?
No, what's the it's not like incubation, it's gestation. It inhibits the growth of a gestation cycle. So that could be like the gestation of a virus. Gestation is kind of a broad term. A foreign body enters a known body and then gestates and could form a virus, a disease, etc. And there is notes that he is helping to develop a drug that would inhibit the growth of a foreign gestation. That he and Kadalt are working on that.
And is there any mention of them, of the cargo modules themselves in his notes?
Of what's in the cargo modules?
Not necessarily what's in them, but him saying that we've dealt with X in the cargo modules or anything like that. Is there any mention of those modules?
There is not. There is nothing specifically mentioning the cargo modules in that capacity.
Does he mention a lab name at all that he's been working from?
He wouldn't. So like everyone that works here knows where the things are. So like he wouldn't label things as like this is the X lab, the Y lab. They're all called like Lab A and Lab B, and you've seen that signage on the walls. So like nothing strikes you as off. According to his emails, there's no like or his messages. Everything tracks with the names of the labs you've seen.
Not looking for anything odd. Looking for specifically which lab he's been working in.
The primary lab that he showed you, the one that you kept him talking in.
Okay. If all is quiet and no one comes back for him after a while, he would head off to that lab and use. He would use Lopez's card to get back in, sealing the door behind him, and then start poking around within there to see if he can find anything that stands out.
Awesome. Go ahead and roll me observation.
One success.
You see everything in this lab that looks like it should, right? It very much looks like it should do all the things that you were told that they do. But as you look closer and start to like examine some of like the container units and shit like that, you don't see like there's residue on some of the like large like cylindrical container units. There's residue on some of them, and they do not look like they should. They should be scooping up like radiation clouds and isotopes. There shouldn't be like a viscous residue inside these things. And usually it looks like it's been like cleaned. So it's like in a crevice, you see some like dark, like a yellowish brown, sort of like viscous liquid in there, which, you know, you're not a scientist, but like when they say radiation cloud, you don't expect them to be like pudding clouds. You expect them to be like a cloud of like fucking like air and clouds. So that strikes you as odd. That strikes you as like that, like something to question. Other than that, what you find out is like this lab, much like the other lab, has been thoroughly cleaned. As in like scrubbed free. As much as Kadalt was like, oh, I wasn't aware that you were coming. Like the whole place has been scrubbed down in a way that says he was very much aware that you were coming.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So we will cut to the storage, like the cargo area, where we see, you know, like lots of boxes sort of strapped down and all this kind of shit. You see a table that's like bolted and welded to the ground. And we see Major Julia Sagi, along with Sergeant Mitchell, and Scheider, headed in this direction towards this cargo area. You would know from Mitchell's report that these storage areas are accessible. There's no... the umbilical is not a like powered on oxygenated umbilical, so you would need to be in full EVA to make the trek across to these stations.
Okay.
You have an EVA suit. I will remind everyone, not remind everyone, but if you look on your character sheet under your uniform, you all should have an IRC Mark 50 compression suit. It is not currently equipped. If you equip it, just change that number, the first number, from a 0 to a 1, and that like equips it on you. So yeah, there are several compression suits on the station, and you guys all have one.
Cool. As we're heading that way, I'm going to transfer the information I found to Mr. Green.
Oh, okay. So you begin sending that information straight over to Mr. Green. So you find the message, including the message from Carter Burke?
Yeah, and go. Burke sent them.
Okay. So you send the information about Carter Burke. You send the information about the people that are not on this ship, all the names, which does match up with your count, Green, of the 8 to 9 people that are on the planet side. and then all the other information that you found about the radiation clouds themselves. Cool. So you send a beep boop. You send that off on your tablet to Green. Green, you get the beep boop update on yours. What are you doing with this cargo scenario?
Yeah, is there? I'm also gonna share with Donald what Mitchell said about there being only like no one here except for the people we've directly interacted with.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just good like making like casual conversation with Scheider and like, so Scheider, what did Weyland-Yutani find at the coordinates?
I'm sorry. You mentioned coordinates before. I'm not entirely sure what you're referring to.
The coordinates of the distress signal that the Nostromo investigated.
Oh, I have no idea. That was 50 some odd years ago.
Well, you're a man in the know, aren't you?
Again, the ship exploded. All that was left was an escape pod with a woman and her cat who floated in space for 50 some odd years. She says that they encountered a previously unforeseen violent alien life form that killed her crew and caused them to explode the refinery. But there has been no evidence of that. We have actually combed the refinery, the wreckage of the refinery, as much of it we can find, and there is no evidence of any of the kind.
Can I tell if he's lying?
Yeah, go ahead and roll an observation.
2 successes.
Ooh, 1 success. So yeah, let's see. You rolled 1 more success than me. What do you It's the last bit. We combed the area and we didn't find anything. That sounds less than truthful. Everything else sounds accurate to what, is more or less true. But the fact that he said we combed the area as much as we could find and didn't find anything at all doesn't seem fully true.
Mm-hmm. Just want to know. I'm curious how far I can get with intimidating this guy. I don't trust my rolls here in Roll20. And then she's gonna indicate the storage bins. What's stored in these storage bins here?
Oh, I'm not entirely sure of their contents. I assume storage, food supplies is what I would imagine. I can reach out to Kadalt and have him inform you of what's inside here. But I would imagine food supplies, medical supplies, anything of the kind that's extraneous to the mission at large.
Why wouldn't you keep it inside?
I'm sure they do. That's additional storage. It is about a 3-week trip out here. So we want to make sure that there is enough supplies to at least a 3-week round trip.
Are one of these things the extra powered one?
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know that, but yes, one of them is.
Okay.
Only Green knows that one of them is receiving a lot more power.
I want to make sure I'm thinking they're the same thing. And does it look like there's a way to bring it inside?
Nope. It's you go out there, get what you need, bring it back in. You walk the umbilical.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'm gonna go and take a look at those thingies.
Is there any reason why you? There's nothing. There shouldn't be anything. In the just storage.
Well, you never know. Crossing T's, dotting I's.
I'm not really sure how that would involve your investigation into your ship.
You'd be surprised.
I would
In my career as a USCMC investigator, you'd be surprised where bits of evidence can turn up.
You're right. I would be. I don't think there's anything to find out there. I think it's just food stores. Let me get the chief scientist down here and see what he has to say about it. If you'll just stand by. And he sort of hops off to the side, and you see him like trying to communicate to get the chief scientist down here. Are you doing anything while he's distracted?
Yeah, she's gonna start getting ready to EVA.
Okay. Sure. You pull your suit on while he's chatting on the terminal. For Kadalt, this is exactly the messages you would kind of see, what you'd expect to see in this scenario, where it's like, get down here, she's trying to access the storage containers, what the fuck, where's your security guard, what's happening, I thought this was a tight ship, you're blowing everything. Very much passing the buck towards you. Aggressive texting on his on the smartwatch. Basically summoning you down to this area.
All very short sentences like, "Where are you? This is bullshit. Where is he?"
Everything ends in a period, so you know he's mad at you.
Yeah.
I think before he heads down, Kadalt will just say, give him the ID of the one they can go in. That's safe to go into.
Perfect.
And says, I'll be right down.
Okay. You see that Scheider stops his communications, and he also starts to put on an EVA suit. And you see that he walks over towards the left umbilical door, and says, Kadalt will be here momentarily to give us access to the storage containers.
While he's texting, can I make an observation to see his demeanor? Like, because you said he's like stress texting a little bit. Can I get some of that, the panic thumbs?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, roll me an observation.
3 successes.
3 successes. Yeah, you can tell that there is a lot more messaging happening than, hey, could you come down to the storage unit and let us into the storage modules, right? Like, should be a 1-2 line message, and you can tell that there are like several messages happening back and forth here.
Yeah, I just hear the frantic ticking sound.
Yeah. And he begins once he's done, he begins getting his EVA suit on, and he heads over to the leftmost door, and says that Kadalt will be here momentarily.
Sure. And she's going to instruct Mitchell to stay here and keep an eye out.
Okay. Kadalt, you arrive in a timely fashion, as you see that Scheider and Asagi are fully ready to go, and Scheider is standing by at the door that you indicated to him.
Yeah. And Kadalt will just say, Major, how does this relate to your investigation? Sorry.
Well, we won't know until we look, will we? Like I told Mr. Scheider here.
What you're looking for in our storage modules.
Well, like as I told Dr. Scheider in the course of my career doing investigations, you never know where little bits of information can turn up.
That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yes, it does.
And
she's gonna turn
want to rummage through our stores. Go ahead, and
sure.
he will open the door to the one that Scheider is sitting next to.
And she's gonna stop and be like, actually, can we go to this one instead?
That contains samples. I'd need to prep it before you can go in there. there's
Okay.
radiation samples in there.
Okay.
Can't just go wandering into that. But
The radiation samples from the planet that's not as irradiated as you said it was?
yeah, radiation has a half-life. It does deradiate after a time. And of course, we're monitoring that it is clearing up.
Sure. Well, my suit will protect me, so
Yeah, but the samples themselves need to be kept.
what kind of samples are these?
Radiation samples? That's what we're searching for.
Yes, but
human.
you just don't have what type of samples are irradiated. You can't just radiation.
I mean, you can, but you also pick up, rocks, any plant life. You can different soil samples. It all
Mhm.
gives you information.
Sure.
Just
I was
like
thought-
you go into random storage areas looking for information, we capture all the information we can get, just in case we get something.
So you understand my level of curiosity here and my desire to be as thorough as possible. So
Of course, that's what we're here to provide you with.
let's go, shall we? Because I'm getting the feeling that you're stalling, and she's gonna eye Mr. Or Sergeant Mitchell.
Yep, the door's open, by all means. I'll prep the other storage unit so you can access that straight after.
She turns to Sergeant Mitchell and is like, "You please watch, please escort Dr. Kiddo, please."
He starts to put on one of the station's EVA suits to head over and escort Dr. Kadalt as you have requested. So Asagi and Scheider, you head down the left. They head down the left corridor, and it is like your suit protects you, so it keeps like the warmth in there. It is no light in here. You see that there is a lit door on the exterior pod as you walk through this fairly lengthy umbilical towards this. And once you get there, you've been given access to this area, so the door sort of opens, and you see like your mag boots are working for the corridor, and you kind of thunk into this room, and you see exactly as Kadalt had said, and is exactly as Scheider had suggested. There are a bunch of like boxes and crates like strapped down because there's no gravity out here, but everything is indicated as like long storage food, dehydrated water, dehydrated food, that kind of thing. Yeah, exactly. So it's all like life things, and you can tell that this box is probably at like maybe a quarter to 1/3 capacity. It is low. It is fairly low. So that strikes you as strange if the other box only contains samples. They are lower on food than they should be.
Okay, and as we walk in. She's like, takes a look around. Is there a door mechanism on the inside of this storage container? Like, can it be opened from the inside if you were locked in?
Yeah. It's a two-way door.
That's inconvenient, Michael.
I'm sorry. It is a storage container. It's not a.
I want to lock this guy in here.
It's not a prison. It's a storage container.
I want to lock him in.
Yeah, there's no like comms in here. So like if somebody accidentally locked themselves in, they would just die. So like, yeah, there's a two-way door.
Unless I comtech it to stay shut. All right. I will say, oh, it's pretty empty in here.
I'm not sure what level of food they consume is, but I think they're due for a resupply.
Yeah, she doesn't let him finish, and she'll turn and walk away.
Okay. It's probably only like 12 feet long, so it's not really Not really in a much of a way that you can get. Again, it's like a shipping container, like ones you see on like boats and shit. So it's probably like 12 feet long by like 4 feet wide, like a large Connex box.
Yeah.
So you can hear him continue, like, I think they're due for a resupply. And he like trails off as you are not paying attention to him.
I really want to try locking him in here.
You can try. Roll me a mobility to see if you can sneak out. What's the worst that happens?
Nothing.
You can push it.
No. No.
You know what? Let me double check something. So we are running the cinematic mode, and in cinematic mode there are things called story points. And when you succeed at your personal agenda, you get a story point. So find out what happened to the. Nope, you didn't get that one. Find out.
I did unlock the Burke thing.
That is not one of your personal agendas, though. That is just a thing you need. Oh, and gather evidence. Yeah, okay. The second one. So find out if Weyland-Yutani were involved in the loss of the team and the Sulaco, and gather evidence if they were. The Burke thing is suspicious and does count as evidence. It does not clear your entire personal agenda. So I'll say you have a story point for that. So a story point is pretty cool. They are kind of like luck and pride and combined. So you can use it to like remove stress, or you can use it to get an automatic success on a roll.
Okay, yeah. Can I, instead of the mobility of sneaking out, can I just like turn and walk out and shut the door before he gets there, and then use the story thing to comtech and the lock?
You would have to. So yes, but you'd have to outroll him in mobility to see if he gets out before you can close him in there.
Okay.
Like, if he sees you leave, he's going to try to follow you. So either you can shove his ass in there and roll me a close combat and lock the door, or you can succeed at slipping out. I guess those are your options. Or you just knock his ass down and run out of there.
Yeah. Can I get him to, can I command him to go over to that crate and open it up so I can see it?
You could try. You can roll and try.
That way he's like on the other side of the room, and then pop out and lock it.
Yeah, you can try.
Right. 2 successes.
2 successes. Roll me that panic.
Keeping it together.
Keep your shit together. Yeah, so you command him to go open up a crate, right? So he like unlatches the netting, and he begins to like open this thing. And it's a small crate, and it smells like coffee as he opens this thing up. You can get like a few of the scents of coffee through your air filters. But he is a good like 5 or 6 feet away from the door, giving you a direct path to the door.
Yeah, she just takes a few steps back behind the door, and she's going to close it.
Okay, go ahead and roll me comtech to see if you can lock him in there.
Yeah, and then I'm going to use my story point for an extra success.
Auto success?
Yeah.
You can just use the story for 1 success. You only need 1. Holy shit. Okay, so with your story point, so here's what I'll say. You can use your story point before or after a roll. Do you want to use it?
No, I'll save it.
Yeah. So 4 successes on a comtech, you like obliterate this lock. It is going to take a repairman to come fix this lock. As you, I assume, head back across the umbilical.
Yep.
Okay. We cut from there to Kadalt and Sergeant Mitchell. About to walk through the umbilical to the second one. Is there anything you're saying to this roided out Marine, Kadalt? You're muted.
You're muted.
He just turns to him and says, "Must be fun working for her."
He looks to you and says, it's actually one of the better stations I've had in my career.
I'm
she
sorry.
runs a tight ship and has a nose for these kinds of things. She's an officer that I would gladly serve under.
And she smiles a lot.
She's actually the happiest I've ever seen a person. Permanent grin. And you can see that he actually, in putting his EVA suit on, he has actually taken off like his chest harness and put it back on over the EVA. So his pistol is on the outside of his EVA suit for usage. And as you're like slowly putting on your suit, he kind of rests his hand on the lower receiver of his pistol, and he says, "Well, we better get on over there. She'll be back before long, and if you're not done and she gets back, there's gonna be hell to pay."
Oh, I can imagine. By all means, and he opens the door and lets the Marine through.
Okay. Mitchell starts to head through the umbilical. Do you follow?
No, he quickly shuts the door.
Outstanding. So here's what I have a question for Mr. Green, real quick. Where are you?
He is in the lab.
Okay, cool. I just want to know where you are. So we follow this is going to be a two-parter. It's going to happen as with every Alien game that I run. It turns out, despite this game being designed for 2 to 3 hours, you are not even halfway through. Don't know how it happens. Don't know how it happens. There's you can go to the planet and the coordinates. There's a whole yeah.
Holy shit.
It's a whole
Before you
thing.
split then, Mike.
Yes.
Before you split then, I do have a question.
Yeah.
From where Mr. Green is.
Yes.
Is there an emergency protocol for releasing the cargo modules? I'm assuming that these doctors, if they're working with some sort of dodgy thing in the cargo module, and if it escaped, they could release them from the ship.
Okay, here's what I will say. With your previous successes on looking for things, yes, it is above Lopez's credentials. It is an authorization of the chief scientist. He has to initiate self-destruct protocols or burst the umbilical protocols. It is not and everyone can just hit the emergency button kind of thing. He gets the final say on that. So yes, there is.
That's
unfortunately. Well, I don't know if you've seen the Alien movies, Chris, but that is perfectly on par. So we're gonna have two final scenes here. The first of which is we follow Mitchell as he is bigger than he is smart. As he walks down the umbilical before realizing that he is alone in here, he walks down and opens the second chamber, to which he sees lights flicker on, and there are 6 hypersleep cryopods in here. And as he looks back and sees that there is no one behind him, the door closes behind him, and he walks in and looks at these 6 pods that all light up, and sees that there is, through the foggy glass, there are 6 bodies in here. And he walks over and sort of rubs his elbow, his forearm, on the frosted glass of one of them, and we see someone in their skivvies with a large yellow carapace with spider legs just stuck to their head. And you see him walk to the next one and the next one, and there are 6 cryo-slept people, each with a face hugger firmly attached to their face. And we see him sort of pull his pistol out for a second, and he gets some NPC stress as he turns around and goes and tries to open the door, and the door does not open. So we cut from Sergeant Mitchell, and we cut primarily to Donald Green. But Donald Green will hear this, Lopez will hear this, and Kadalt will hear this, all before Major Asagi can get out of the tube. we see a tight beam connection crackle on to the comm stations, and Kadalt. It seems as though Stanton fixed the communication situation that was happening down there, and a communique is coming through from the ground team. And what you see is, hold on one second. You see Mike scrolling to find his fucking notes on what exactly it is that you see. But I promise you, it's not great. Cool. What you see is on the ground. You see that one of the prisoners, as they are wanted for violent crimes, or they are convicted of violent crimes, you see one of them freaking the fuck out. So, Green, you see a man that you do not recognize, and he is holding another man that you do not recognize. Kadalt, you recognize him as Carter, one of your lab assistants, and he has a gun to his head, and he is screaming at this video communique. What the fuck is this? Where are we? What have you done to us? This is absolutely. I woke up here. This is insane. This guy says there's something's happening. There's some sort of drug. You've induced us with a drug. There's some sort of what is happening? If I don't get answers and I don't get whatever this is, I will kill this man. And that is where we'll end this half of the one shot. As so many people are now endangered.
Yeah. Not my guy.
That is per the module. That is Act 1. Act
Holy
1
shit.
of 3. Those are all the events of Act 1.
You're welcome, Mike.
Yeah.
We just do it to ourselves.
What's crazy is, like, you guys did all the things in Act 1. Like, everything you did was, like, more or less what you were supposed to do. So, like, yeah.
I just don't know how quick you were supposed to go through it all.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, it's supposed to be for, like, 2 to 3 hours, and I was like, we'll see. We'll see what happens. What fucking happens? Yeah, so that's where we'll wrap this. And we will get this on the schedule. Hopefully we can get it on the schedule for next month. And see where we are for one shots for that. Because this has been very cool, and I'm it's so far different than the other Alien ones we've done. A lot of investigation in the first half, and judging by the second half of this, it ramps up.
It's gonna go quickly, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. So let's go around, do our introductions, and then get the hell out of here so we can do our after show. And if you want access to the after show, you can get it over on our Patreon. Join us over there at the $5 tier. Get access to this after show and all the other after shows from now until like 2020, I think, if I'm being honest. So the last 4 years of shows are over there. Currently, that's when we started them. But for now, let's start with our the only new face to this month's one shots. Norm, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet, and what are you up to?
I'm Normal Snow. You can find me in the Patreon campaign and the one shots, and sometimes in the Discord.
Hell yeah. Over to G. Who are you? Where can we find you, and what are you up to?
I'm the Friendly Neighborhood Lightning Invoker. You can find me in the Discord all the time. You'll find me in all the Patreon games, the campaign tomorrow with Melissa from Mundus Novus, and Age of Always with Chris and Melissa, and yeah, I think that's everything.
Hell yeah.
And the Rise with Snow.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And the Rise.
And the Rise with Snow.
Oh, sorry, and the Rise. Yes.
Yeah.
With Snow and Chris.
Last but not least, Chris, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet? What are you up to?
I'm Chris Akinurka. You can find me in the Discord and here on Patreon things on unMadeGaming. Nowhere else.
Hell freaking yeah. That's it from us. Thank you for checking this out. I'm having a lot of fun with this. I need to run more Alien. It's a fun time. Yeah, so thank you for checking this out. We will be sure to get this scheduled as soon as possible. I know we have a curse of part 2s never happening. But G is going to hold my feet to the fire and make sure this happens. So that's it from us. Thank you for being here. Join us in the Discord. Join us over on Patreon. We will see you next time. So from all of us, you guys, bye-bye.
Bye.